Welcome back to the Business of Living podcast. I have a treat for you today. His name is Nathan, and we randomly met on LinkedIn of all places. And it was just one of those situations where we knew we had to have a conversation. We knew we needed to connect. It didn't make sense logically, but now it makes a whole lot more sense. And we are a lot alike, and we have a lot of similar perspectives. And I know that a lot of people are really going to enjoy getting to know you and getting to know your story. Welcome to the Business of Living podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to dive right in. So how old are you?
Yeah, I'm coming in on my 23rd birthday in July.
22 years old.
When I was in middle school, like you said, I've always been active. I love doing sports. And so I went to a smaller middle school and they offered triathlons as one of the sports that we could participate in. So I did that exact thing. I started running and riding bikes and swimming. And then eventually I stuck to the cycling part of it. My coach asked me if I wanted to become a competitive cyclist specifically. And I had been riding bikes with my dad a lot growing up. And I just decided, all right, let's do it, And so I made that decision. And the first race I competed in was the New Mexico State Time Trial. And so that's just completely you against the clock, right? And so there's no teamwork involved. It's just brute force, just you against the clock. And as a 13-year-old, I think, in the first race that I ever competed in, I won my age division. And so I won the youth state time trial. So state champion right away. And I thought,
wow,
all right, I think I'm going to stick with it,
Yeah, I'd say so. 13 years old, newly into the cycling world, and you become the state champion.
Yeah, I loved
wow.
it. Yeah, and so therefore I just continued with cycling and I just pursued that. That became my passion, It's riding hours a day, minimum of like 2 hours a day, and then doing everything cycling. And that was my passion and my love. And I rode every day. My team was my closest friends were on my team. And yeah, we would like ride or die together, right? That's the quote.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's where we end up. Then as I continued to be a cyclist, I competed, and by God's grace, I was able to train a lot, and that qualified me for different positions. So I won the Tour of the Gila. I was the youngest to ever win the Tour of the Gila, which is a large regional race down in southern New Mexico. And that qualified me for nationals. So I went to nationals and placed top 10 in the nation. And
wow.
I was leading the state road series in New Mexico as a 15, 16-year-old. And so then when I went to nationals, obviously I placed top 10, and I was continuing to pursue a professional career as only a 16-year-old. And that was really my passion, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Then that's where we get into the brute of the story, right? On January of 2016, I was training with my team, and I was hit by a car at 55 to 60 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So that sent me flying. And it landed. I just landed, and immediately I was in a coma. So I don't remember the accidents. Thank God I don't remember the accidents, or honestly, even a little bit beforehand too. And my coach said that, yeah, he saw me, and he just thought I was dead. And so sure enough, the police officers arrived at the scene, and they reported it as a fatality.
Oh my gosh.
And the ambulance brought me to the hospital, and God bless my parents. They got a call saying Nathan is in an ambulance on the way to the hospital, and it's reported as a fatality. So I can't imagine my family going to the hospital thinking that I was dead, and there was
Oh
nothing
my
they could do
gosh.
about it.
That's unbelievable. And I want to stop you there for a second because I
Yeah.
think you know that what I've been through and some of the trauma I've experienced. And I can imagine what your parents were feeling because on the day that Brad passed away,
Hmm.
the guy that died on the construction site,
Yeah.
I had to confront his parents at the hospital. And that still to this day is probably the worst thing I've ever experienced. Brad would have turned 42 today.
Hmm.
This is his birthday today. So shout out to Brad Berger, who is an extraordinary young man and didn't make it. But for your parents to have to hear those words over the phone, I cannot imagine what that's like. I have three little kids. I mean, that had to be devastating. I mean, the thoughts that were going through their head, especially you being how old at the time?
16.
16. Yeah. For them to know that their 16-year-old son, who had so much potential and so much talent that potentially could be gone, I mean, that must have been just excruciating.
That's one thing that really pulled them through was the community, because so
Mm.
many people were there by their side and were with me while I was in the ICU, and especially the community and the prayers that were going up. Like our faith was that is one foundation that's unshakable.
Mm.
And so obviously, if their son was reportedly dead, the one the one they could turn to was God and just pray for graces and for, I mean, their health as well and their security in this. And we can keep getting into the story because there's miracle upon miracle in the recovery process.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, this is crazy already.
Yeah, buckle in. um, so I was in a coma for 2 weeks, and then eventually I woke up and I was paralyzed on my left side, so I wasn't able to move anything on my left side. And crazy, when I woke up, I only spoke Spanish.
Come on. Did you speak Spanish before?
I mean, yeah, conversationally, not I wasn't fluent necessarily, but
Okay. So your Spanish side is your right side. Got it.
yeah. Who knows?
So what did it feel like though, waking up and not being able to move half your body? What did that feel like?
I don't remember. Like
Okay.
my first memory is when I think it was at Craig Hospital, which is the brain injury and spinal cord injury recovery hospital that I was sent to in Colorado
Mm.
after I got out of the ICU. So I don't remember. People ask me that frequently, and I don't genuinely remember what it was like to wake up from the coma.
Mm. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had several lacerations and cuts down to the bone, on my back and my knee. And so yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah.
crazy, especially for my family who had to endure all of that consciously, right?
My gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't imagine. And how long were you in the hospital recovering?
Yeah, so I was in a coma for 2 weeks, in the ICU for a month, and then I went up to Craig Hospital in Denver, which is where I stayed for 2 months. And that's where the first miracles happen. Is
Mm.
when I went to the hospital, I was paralyzed on my left side. I was in a wheelchair and I was completely, I mean, incapable. I don't remember the medical flight that took me up there. Um, but my first memories were at Craig, and they work incredible medicine at Craig Hospital. They did some incredible recovery and therapy for me there. Um, and so and that was the other big thing, is my family was so supportive the entire time. My parents would take weeks off of work and stay with me for, I mean, periods of time up in Denver. And I just can't imagine. I mean,
Mm.
looking back on it, I'm just so grateful for the constant support I had. And not just from my parents, but from all of my family and all of my
Mm.
friends and all of my loved ones, from New Mexico at that time.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, that was the first miracle. As I went in, um, paralyzed and just recently out of the coma, and 2 months later, I walked out of that hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. Then that summer, so I was back home in New Mexico, and that summer I was getting this tingling feeling every time I kind of moved my head down.
Mm.
So I told my mom about that, and she's involved with medical. She's a physical therapist,
Hmm.
and so she thought, that's not normal, you know.
Yeah.
So sure enough, I went to get an MRI, and this is where miracles just start flowing. So I got the MRI, and incredibly painful experience for me at that time because my brain was just so fragile.
Mm.
But when I got out of the MRI and it was supposed to be read, the doctor who read the MRI wasn't supposed to come to work that day, but he did. So he came to work and he read the MRI. And on MRIs, you aren't really able to see aneurysms.
Right.
Noticed something in the MRI that seemed off. So we did further measurements and tests, and he did some further deduction, and he said, "Yeah, this is an aneurysm." So that was just a miracle in itself. It's a miracle that the aneurysm didn't blow and I didn't stroke out
Yeah.
while while I was walking and trying to exercise up until then and elevating my heart rate. And so all of that happens, which is just miraculous. And then we get to the surgery. So I have a craniotomy, and they did a surgery on my brain to fix the aneurysm. And a month after that, it was only a month after that, we were supposed to go fly out to Europe for World Youth Day. My family's Catholic, and so we were going out. We had been planning for this trip for
Mm.
so long, and it was something we were really looking forward to. But a month before, I had an aneurysm, and so I had to have that craniotomy. And we thought, shoot, I don't know if we're going to be able to go to World Youth Day. Sure enough, and a month later, we went back for a follow up, and the doctor said, "Yep, you're good to go."
Wow.
So boom, we flew to Europe and we got to experience, World Youth Day and just the Catholic Church and worldwide, right? And that was so incredible. And that was so much joy in my heart. It was definitely difficult for me to be present mentally,
Mm.
but while I was there, just such an experience that I got to be in another country with the people that I loved and experience that
Mm.
such a short time after everything had happened,
Yeah. Brain surgery. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's unbelievable. After everything you've been through, paralyzed half your body, onto aneurysm surgery, and then over to Europe for World Youth Day. I mean, that's incredible.
And yeah, and then the timeline continues. So then I came back to school, and school has always been very difficult for me.
Mm.
God bless, I'll tell you that. God bless my teachers in high school because they really helped me out. They really helped me to be able to succeed for my final 2 years in high school. And that was the next miracle, is that I got to graduate with my class. That
Oh,
even though
wow.
I was set back an entire semester, and even though I had a brain injury and I needed accommodations, I was able to graduate with my high school class,
Mm.
which was so incredible. And that was everything I was hoping for. Then that sent me to Franciscan University, which is a small Catholic college up in Ohio. I met my fiance up there and all of my best friends, and grew such an incredible community up there. And I'm getting married in August.
Yes.
I just graduated, so I'm done with school forever. How great is that?
You're not done learning, but you're done with school.
Yeah. Let's hope not.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I just started a company, and I'm using this. Something that I love, Mike, is the fact that you have this podcast, and you and I have discussed this before, but the fact that you really focus on the beauty of everyday life, right? And
Mm.
how we're never promised tomorrow. So make the most of today and, get to that business of living, right?
Amen to that. Yeah, I love that. And I want to go back in your story a little bit, because something you shared when we first talked kind of blew my mind. Now, somebody was in that car, right, that hit you at 55 miles per hour. What happened with that whole thing? Because I mean, he could have been charged with manslaughter or something close to it based on that whole accident.
Right. Yeah. Completely. So we went to court against him uh, not long after I was recovered from Craig Hospital. It was that summer. And this was not necessarily for allegations, but just for, his, what would happen, because you're right. I mean, it was reported as a fatality. So it
Mm,
could have been a big sentence for him. But
sure.
when I was in the court, I asked, I had really done a lot of praying and thinking about it. And to me, if this truly was an accident, that if he hit me and it truly was an accident, what good would be in him just sitting, sitting in prison, just thinking about the mistakes he had made, or even not having really anything to do besides maybe just some financial, like he had to pay some money, and then he just kept sitting thinking about the mistake that he made or the accident that had occurred on his hands. So I asked the judge, I said, Your Honor, this is something that I would hope that you understand, and there's no good that could come out of this if he's only hit, like, if he's just hit financially, or if he's, sent to prison, or if he's doing any of this. I would love for his sentence to be to do community service. And specifically in that community service, what we could count as hours would be for him and I to go give talks at driver's education classes about the dangers of distracted driving. So,
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. That is such a refreshing perspective in a society today where it's all about, I got to take care of myself, you know, um, forget everybody else. If somebody wronged me, they're going to pay, right? That whole perspective, that's pervasive through the society.
mm,
And what you're sharing here is the opposite of that, which I'm assuming only could come through your faith and through your belief in God, that you could have a perspective that could care about somebody who nearly killed you. And not only did you want to let them off the hook for that, you were willing to partner with that person and teach classes to bless other people and to help prevent this from happening in other situations. I mean, that's incredible. I love that.
yeah, thank you. I mean, and that's our mission, right? Is that whenever things happen to us, and for all of your audience listening right now, whatever has happened to them in their lives, this has happened for a reason, right? So in my opinion, I mean, as you know, I'm Catholic, and so I have a strong faith in God, and so I promise you this. I've had people ask me, well, if you believe in a God that is so good, why would he let you almost die? And I said, well, what did you just say? Almost, right? I
Mm,
said, God saved me for a reason. And I am here on this earth. My mission is to work for him on those moments that I have left and further his kingdom on earth, right? And so that was the primary goal. It was just to make a difference, make an impact on those that I could. And in that situation, it was a perfect and a prime example for me to be able to stand up with the guy who hit me. And he and I both very humbly were able to present to, the students that were learning how to drive, the dangers of distracted driving and all of that. I mean, everything that entails. And so it was really incredible to be able
mm,
to do that. And
wow.
I'm grateful that he was willing to accept that type of ministry alongside me. And the
Hmm.
fact that he and I were both in the situation to just be cordial with each other and be able to present on a matter that really was the exact line that divided the two of us.
Wow. What a gift that you gave him. How different would his life have been if it wasn't you in that courtroom, right? So many people, and would have justified getting some kind of payout or settlement from what he had done. Instead, this guy gets grace extended to him, and he gets to repair that relationship with you and work together with you and help other people. That is such a powerful story. I want everybody to just think about that for a second, because yeah, we can find ways to justify the bad things that have happened to us, but that's only going to hold us back, right? Anything can be turned into good, especially when you have faith in God. You can turn a terrible situation into something good, not only for you, but to help so many other people. And I want you to remember that, because that is a decision to make in the moment. Like, you could have kind of let things unfold there, right? The way that the law would suggest, and probably walked away with some cash. But but no, you decided, and you had the clarity of what the right thing was to do, and you knew that that would result in joy and restoration, and you offered that grace in that moment. That's such a great example of a choice that you can make when you are wronged and when something happens to you. There's always an opportunity to turn that around and to bless other people with it. Love that story. Okay, in that same vein, now that you've been through all this, right? This is a traumatic experience. I mean, I'd imagine you're still feeling some of the effects emotionally, physically from that experience.
Yeah, so this is incredible. They say that it takes around 6 years to quote unquote fully recover from a brain injury. Obviously, I will never be back to the way I was before the accident mentally, just with my my mental ability to remember things or to be present all the time. I mean, I do get fatigued a lot easier, and I do still experience obvious effects of a brain injury. But it's been 6 years, and it's incredible. This past year, I just think to myself, wow, I see a lot of moments where I take joy that in moments that I was unable to perform in the past, I'm able to now. And so I'm at that point where I am at my fullest of recoveries from this brain injury, in my opinion. And
Mm,
that's really incredible. There's definitely a lot of things that I can't do that are still obvious to me, but everything has become a new normal for me. So that was the other idea that I had, is while I was recovering, I wanted to get back. I it was so hard for me because I knew when I was laying in that hospital bed in Craig Hospital that I was top 10 in the nation. That I was a nationally ranked competitive cyclist.
mm,
And I knew that I had the potential to go race in Europe as a 16, 17-year-old. And I knew that I had that ability, and I knew that I was doing well in school, and I knew that's who I was, but I was laying paralyzed in a bed.
mm.
And so that was my whole recovery. No matter what I was doing, I just had such a drive and such a motivation to get back to where I was. And obviously, I wasn't able to immediately, and nor will I ever go back to that original spot. But now that I have this new normal that I am blessed with, this life that I'm blessed with, I take that and I try to bring that to the next level and always drive myself for further growth.
Mm. Yeah. So after being through all this, and having this very unique perspective of being that close to losing your life and having to battle back and get to where you are today after 6 years of recovery, what are you starting to see about life that you want others to see?
The business of living. Right, that's
Yeah.
that's literally what my life is about, is everything that this podcast is about. And I hope that all of you listeners have been listening to Mike for a long time, because I've caught up to where you guys have been in the past 2 days that I've known Mike. But what I think especially rings true for my story is if you go back and listen to the season 3 introduction, he really talks about a formal invitation. He says this is a formal invitation to live your life to the fullest
Mm,
and just live with no regrets. And that's exactly what I choose, what I hope for people to gain from this. And I mean, setting goals like in your fourth episode. See, I'm a big fanboy now, right?
It's awesome.
Um, you talked about setting specific goals and like what's really focusing on what stirs your heart,
Hmm.
and not letting other people set those goals for you, but you setting those goals and you objectively deciding what it will take to achieve those goals, and realizing that yeah, progress is, this is another, you talked about progress in one episode, and you said progress is how people are, I mean, successful. That's how they can gain success.
Hmm.
And so being able to set those goals for yourself, achieve those, leads yourself to progress, which gains success. um, I mean, life is too short to be, just sitting around keeping to yourself, or not inspiring or working with others. We're here for such a short time
Hmm.
that, I mean, I hope my life can be a testament to not only God's graces and how he gives us the opportunity to serve him while we're here, but to be living life to the fullest,
Mm.
get to the business of living, just seeking that betterment of yourself as well as those around you.
Yeah. Well, you are living that. And I love that you have that perspective. And I love the name of your company too, which it sounds like it's tied into your experience. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this past year I just started a multifamily real estate LLC down in Fort Worth, Texas, and I named the company Testament Real Estate LLC. And my goal in doing so was not only my life, but also my work with this company, and also all of my further connections and all of those who I work with in the future businesses, the future companies I can start, the future people I can impact. I want all of that to be a testament to not only God's grace, but just to the genuine positivity you can share with other people, and how that reflects back on yourself, right? That if you are a light in the world to other people, you'll start getting some light back, right?
Yeah, you're not just saying words there. You're living that, my friend. You are. And you're going to continue to do that. At 22 years old, growing a real estate multifamily business. What are you excited about right now in life?
I'll tell you what, I'm ready for my marriage.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Yeah. um Maybe talk to me in 10 years, I'll tell you how that turns out, all right?
Yeah. Well, you keep that same perspective, and you stay close to God's voice. You'll have an extraordinary marriage in 10 years.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be able to grow a family, right, and to be able to start my life with my fiance. And that's kind of the big next, that's my big next step, right? that's
That's a
that's
big one.
that's coming up.
Yeah.
And I mean, then in business, I mean, so I love real estate, and I'm looking forward to growing my real estate portfolio, my investment portfolio, and also my understanding and my network in this industry, as well as really working on using my life to impact others, and being, I mean, hoping to motivate other people to live to their fullest, right? And so that's, and genuinely what I've seen is there's so much out there. You said to me that I had, at the beginning of this podcast, you said that I had some wisdom, and I appreciate that. But all of that has come from the easy wisdom that's just handed out. Like, there's everything I learned in real estate was from free books, free podcasts, and YouTube videos that I spent hours and hours and hours reading books and watching videos and listening to podcasts about real estate. And look where we are, right?
Mm.
And that's where it's all so easy in this time where we are now to just share your understanding and your everything that you've gained in this life, and share that with other people, because people just need to hear it, and they think, okay, I can do that too, right? And that's what's so great. And there's people that will hear your message, and I pray that people can hear my message and use that, and not only motivate themselves to be successful in themselves, but also impact those around them. And we can just create a community and a nation that is able to work for each other and grow in joy.
That's a great word. That there's so many people who have been generous with their knowledge and experience and have put those into books and videos and generously given that away for the betterment of other people around them. And you're right. We can't just consume that and serve ourselves, right? We were meant to learn and grow and then hold that stuff loosely and share it with the people around us and make a difference. I love that perspective, because if we are just living for ourselves, we're very quickly going to be missing something significant in our lives. The greatest joy comes from helping other people, right?
Mm.
I mean, that's the magic right there. You want to start having fun in life, start giving, start helping others, start sharing what you know and what you've experienced to improve other people's lives. And I know that you're going to continue to do that, Nathan. And I so appreciate you having this conversation with us today. I know that's a journey that's not easy to go through in your mind again, experiencing and reliving everything that you've been through. But I know I got high value out of it. I know everyone listening really appreciates what you shared today. But before you go, you had a couple challenges you wanted to lay out there for the Business of Living community. What's on your mind?
No, absolutely. But my first challenge is just do something that you love every day. And so when I say that, that's not just necessarily like people love their careers. That's so great. People have a certain hobby and they could do that every day. That is so great. So do that, right? Do something that makes you joyful and then share that joy with other people. But that exact same word is finding joy in everything that you do. Because some things aren't easy, right? In some cases, you will be in a situation that is hard to be in. I mean, there are some people that are very blessed and some people who have lots of needs. And the people who have the most joy, I have found, are the people who just really take joy in everything. I met this incredible man who was homeless the other day, and it was a really nice sunny day. And we were walking on the street and he said, "Hey." And so I said, "Hello, how are you doing?" And he just started proclaiming the joy of the day. He said, "Such a beautiful day. Look at this sun. God is good." And then he just starts lifting off some Bible verses and he was, just expressing a bunch of joy. And I thought to myself, how incredible is that? Like this man really doesn't have much, but he can find joy in the smallest things. And so I think that's kind of the biggest challenge that I would give to everyone, is to find joy in everything. And that can be attainable by doing something that you love every single day.
Yeah, I like how you laid it out. Not all rosy though, because some people would say, "Okay, here we go, positive thinking." Like, what if I'm having an awful day, or what if something's really hard? But again, there's an opportunity to choose joy, right? Even if it doesn't feel right. I'm not singing because I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm singing.
Mm.
And that suggests that you have control over that, right? You can decide that I'm going to be happy. I'm going to choose joy in a difficult situation. That's a decision. It doesn't happen to you. But what does happen to you is negativity and feeling bad for yourself and sinking down, shrinking back, all those things that take us away from fully experiencing life. Love these challenges. Do something you love every day and share the joy of it. And also find joy in everything that you do. That suggests that you have to choose it even when it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
Love those challenges. Those are words to live by. And if you did that every day, you would be a much more joyful, happier person. And you'd see a lot of people around you happy as well and blessed because of it. Nathan, thank you so much for being with us on the show today. I know that everyone is fired up and wants to go out and live differently as a result of this conversation. So thank you for being generous with your time and your message. And we'll check back in with you.
That's the deal. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Business of Living podcast. We'll be in touch soon. See you next week.